Yeah. Okay, good evening, folks. Got a busy schedule. Tonight, we've got our candidates, reports from fire, police, and water, and others. So we'll get started. I did a new map of the area where we are, showing Mission Grove. I did it based on the city council wards. So you can see Ward 2 is kind of in the red, and Ward 4 is kind of that bluish gray color, and the rest of the white area is the county. So we touch on part of the county, Ward 2 and Ward 4. That little section right here, that got cut out so that Chuck Conder could stay in Ward 4. And so in order for that to happen, we got cut out of Ward 4 and put into Ward 2. So that's how that works. So welcome. Sponsor Clarissa Cervantes helped us get the room tonight. We need to thank her. I don't know if Bill is here tonight, her assistant, but he helps a lot with that. If you're not getting our emails, make sure you sign in. And if you want to become a member for $12 a year, see the handsome gentleman there in the back. Our signs that have been missing, we had an arrest done a month ago. A gentleman was arrested and arraigned, and he's going to start going to court in a couple of weeks. What's that? How was he caught? We put trackers on the signs, and we put cameras out to catch who was doing it. The cameras were successful in one thing. The other thing was we put signs, trackers on the signs, and on I think it was Super Bowl Sunday, I picked up that one of the signs had moved and was in Moreno Valley. So I drove down to Moreno Valley and spotted the sign in the back of a truck and took a picture of it with the license plate. And then I waited for the individual to come out and I took a video of that. And then he took 3 more signs on his way back home and then drove to Chino to watch the Super Bowl. And my son and I drove out there and took a picture of the truck showing on the tracker that we had 4 signs basically were still in the back of the truck. So anyway, took like 30 signs altogether over the course of 6 months. So yeah, I have no idea. We have no idea why. We tracked them. He was throwing them in a dumpster. At first, we thought maybe he wanted them for the value of the signs because the frames are worth about $50, $60. They were throwing them in a dumpster. So we'd go get them out of the dumpster, put them back out, and then he'd take them again, throw them in the dumpster. We'd get them back out and he'd take them. Anyway, so took us a few months to figure it out, but those little tile trackers work real well. Because then anyone with an Android phone picks it up and then you can triangulate it and see where it is. It's not as good as a GPS, but it's close enough. So I figured out how to work it to be able to get it. So we did that. So meeting rules, respect for one another, raise your hand to speak, email questions after if you don't get them answered here. For the speakers tonight, there's cards on the table. So if you've got questions for the candidates, please write them down and we'll go through them. And if we have time to take live questions, we'll do that at the end. But to get started, we have some updates. So we have Mr. Richmond from the fire department to give us a little update. Tell us what's been burning lately.
Evening, Orange Crest community. How's everybody doing? So I have an update for the from the fire department. First of all, let me just say my name is Scott Richmond. I'm Battalion Chief for Battalion 2. If you don't know, the city is divided into 2 battalions. Battalion 1, which covers pretty much like the east side, downtown to the middle of the city. And then I cover Battalion 2, which is the other half of the city. And between Battalion 1 and Battalion 2, I cover like a little bit of Orange Crest, and my counterpart covers the other half. Today I have some points I'll just go over to talk about. Your local fire station is Station 11, and they service, the JPA. We have a mutual aid agreement with county to service some of those areas, and then also Orange Crest communities and in and around. And they also backfill other fire stations when they're out running calls. So this area in particular has become a little bit more busy over the years. I grew up in this area, so I remember when it was a lot of orange groves and a lot of open space. It's not that way anymore, and it just keeps increasing. And the fire station is no different. Calls increase with the population increases. I do have some points here. I'll talk and I'll just go one by one. First point is from the fire department. Just like to briefly talk about the wildland environment. I know over the last year, maybe 2 years, this has been kind of a hot topic. And just to kind of let you know, the state of California has redistricted most of California and our communities within California to include these fire hazard severity zone maps. So we already have these things throughout the state of California, but they've reclassed a lot of land into very high, like moderate, high, and very high zones. So what that means to the city of Riverside is they've increased a lot of land that is now as a responsibility for the city of Riverside. What that means is if it's not your personal property or somebody else's property, or it's not interface areas where the state is responsible for it, then the city and the fire department is going to be responsible for fuels management and managing those areas that could potentially impact our communities. When I say WUI, what I mean is the wildland urban interface. These are these small areas where we have grass and brush areas that abut communities and houses and infrastructure. That's called the WUI, where you have a grass fire that interfaces with where people live. What that means is the responsibility has increased a lot, and not just here in Riverside, but throughout the state of California. We're currently working on and nearing its completion of a community wildlife protection plan through our fire prevention department and our administrative fire chief, deputy chief. And so they're pretty much complete with that, having gotten these new zones. And so they're submitting to the city, and then that'll be the plan kind of moving forward on how to mitigate open areas and fuels mitigation throughout the city in the hopes of reducing the danger of some of these areas to communities. Secondly, accreditation. I want to let you know that we're just in the process of finishing up, or we just completed our ISO, and it's like an insurance services organization that what that means is they come in as an independent organization and they evaluate the fire department. They look at things like your water supply, your infrastructure, the amount of fire engines you have, the amount of personnel you have, like how you respond to emergencies. Class 1 is the highest standard that you can achieve in the nation, and your fire department is a Class 1 fire department. We were last time. We've been able to maintain that this year. This time, the requirements are very hard. They're hard to achieve. But we just completed that, and I have to say we maintained our status as a Class 1 department. We're also a internationally accredited fire department, and so through an organization, it's the Center for Public Service Excellence, and they accredit it fire departments internationally. And what that means is they look at your department holistically. They break the department down into categories, and then they evaluate through an independent, like people come from out of state, and then they evaluate your fire department. You either meet the requirements or you don't. And your fire department isn't a nationally accredited fire department. It's very hard to achieve, but we've got those. As far as the ISO, what that means is not only means that we have pretty good infrastructure, we're doing pretty well. But what that also means is like businesses enjoy maybe a reduced cost in their insurance because of the service that we provide. Next, I'll address fireworks. As we all know, fireworks have become a big issue here in the city of Riverside. It presents a great danger, and as the population increases, the danger increases. There's a large effort going forward, working with our police counterparts, our arson department, our investigators, and the fire department as a whole to address this issue. They are moving forward with the city with a social hosting policy, which means that when a resident is caught with illegal fireworks, that they are going to charge the owner of the home. So if you have a rental property, they're first going to seek fines from the homeowner, and it's going to be the homeowner's responsibility to transmit those fines to the people renting. There's a lot. Fees are going to increase dramatically in an effort to try to reduce the hazards and safety issues that fireworks causes. Next, we're nearing the next. I want to talk about the master plan. So, in the master plan for the fire department, we have a company called Triton, which we've used before to do a third-party study in the area of EMS. So we're using the same company to come up with a master plan. And what that means is the master plan, this company takes a look at the fire department. And they look at our fire stations. They look at our personnel. They look at where we're at, the personnel, where we're at. And then they say, hey, you know, based upon our data, about national data, we need another fire station. We need 2 more fire stations. We need 3 more fire engines in order to meet the need of the community. So they do that. And then what they get out of that is hopefully apply like a 5-year, 10-year, 15-year, 20-year plan to meet the needs and projected increase of the city of Riverside. So that's under its way right now. Fire Chief McKinster is expecting the results of that probably in July or August. And then at some point they'll review it and then submit that to the city. So master plan, it's a good leap forward and it's a good groundwork, or hopefully a good basis for making sure that your fire department stays current with the community. Lastly is just in our area of personnel. I have 2 points actually in closing. Is man, it's been a real challenge. I'd say through COVID and over the last few years, we've just, as a fire department, struggled with getting people. And I think it's the same across the board. I think all public service agencies has been challenged in this way, but we're to the point where we're almost fully staffed, which is a huge deal. We have a system in the fire department where we cover every position 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, regardless if we're down 15 or 20 positions. And what that means is your firefighters were responsible for filling those positions, whether they want to do work or whether they're voluntarily signed up. If not, then they got forced to work. And this has been going on for some time, but happy to say we're almost completely filled. So it's kind of lightened the burden there. Last little point here is I just want to mention you specifically to the Orange Crest community that on June 17th, 18th, and 19th, you may have received a flyer or seen a flyer that's been distributed to the community that looks like this. If you've not seen it, you'll probably see something on social media. And all it does is really just summarize that on those dates in the morning from about 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., we're going to be conducting live fire training burns in the area of Blackwood. And so you may, if you're in that area or in the Orange Crest area and you see some smoke on all 3 of those days from the morning to the early afternoon, don't be alarmed. It's us doing prescribed burns and training. So we spent a lot of time preparing the area off of Sycamore Canyon. We've got a bunch of plots of land. They've scraped the earth and make sure that fire is not going to get beyond these plots of land. And then they work on different tactics. So it's just our ongoing thing that we do, every year, all day. We train all the time. This afternoon, I just spent the whole afternoon in training. And then it's just a constant thing. But that's it. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And that's all I really have. Is there any questions that you might have for the fire department or anything that I got? Yes, sir. Oh yeah. This is an industry thing. This isn't just felt by, Riverside. this is felt by the entire nation. There is a shortage of, I won't say like a shortage of fire engines, because they're building them all the time, but there is a long waiting list because of the demand. We've just recently, the city approved the purchase of 2 fire engines and a truck, as well as also another 2 fire engines from another manufacturer that we had before. And our deputy chief has really been working hard in order to kind of maintain his relationships and really kind of worked out a good deal about the design of the fire engine in order to increase the turnover of getting those fire engines. We run a lot of calls, and those are big apparatus, and they have hard miles. They're not usually cruising miles. They're going to emergencies, and they're in dirt, off dirt, pumping, and they're complicated pieces of machinery. We make them last because we have good personnel who maintains the apparatus, but they do need to be replaced. And it's a slower process, but we're getting ahead of it for sure. That's a very good question. Yes, ma'am. Yep. June 17th, 18th, and 19th. The time is from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. and it'll be in and around the area of Blackwood. You'll see units parked and, they'll be in and out using fire hydrants in the area, parked in areas. You'll probably see drift smoke from that area, from Sycamore Canyon, kind of over communities. And then it'll be a little bit, and then they'll put it out. A little bit, and they'll put it out. A little bit, and they'll put it out. That's it. Yes, ma'am. Sure. Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Let's just say our single engine company carries 3 ladders. They carry a 10-foot ladder that we use to get up into scuttle holes. You have a 14-foot roof ladder that can get to the 2nd story. That's also used on top of the roof, but they also carry a 24-foot extension ladder. Now, if you pitch that really steep, maybe you get to a third story window. However, we have truck companies, and those truck companies have 35-foot extension ladders, 28-foot extension ladders. You open the back, the whole thing is just ladders. And then on top of that, they have a 100-foot aerial ladder that they can go up to 7 stories on a structure. So most of your buildings around here, you do have mostly 2-story. But if a 3rd story is around, it's it's no problem. And a truck company arrived, they'll probably just pull that 35-foot ladder because it's the quickest, and it's no problem. Yeah. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yep. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So there's a good website, and it's been up for a long time. So this is a good forum to talk about it. The City of Riverside has a website called Ready Riverside. That's through our Emergency Operations Center. And you can go around there, readyriverside.com. And then they have a wildland section. And they explain the whole thing. And what it is really, it's just a state standard for protecting your home and weed abatement around the zones around it, how to do that, what to do, what not to do. There's a lot of information there. I would just direct you to that website, Ready Riverside. No, a lot of those things have to do with building code. And you can't regulate everything. Ready Riverside is really just about, mitigating the wildland. But as far as building code, that's another department. It's a little bit larger subject, but that's a very good question. There was another question over here. Yes, ma'am. I would call it fireworks are illegal in Riverside, and they present a hazard. I mean, I dare mention the Hayward incident. That was a result of fireworks. Every year, I go on a call where somebody's blowing off their hand. or something bad has happened, people get injured, or a house catches on fire, a roof catches on fire, grass catches on fire. It is, it's a hazard, and fireworks are illegal in the city of Riverside. So absolutely. Anybody have any other questions? All right. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
So the message there is on the 17th, 18th, and 19th, the coyotes will be coming into your backyards in record numbers because they're going to be burning fires and traipsing around out there in their habitat. So we're getting them more and more now as it is. So now they'll look out for them those 3 days. Go buy your hunting license or something. Okay, so now we have a report from Lieutenant Merrill from the police department.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think I've seen most of the faces, but some of them are new. So I am Brandy Merrill. I'm the lieutenant for the East NPC. Orange Crest, Mission Grove, Alessandro are all within this NPC, so I am your area commander. Investigator Allen took my thunder in giving the update for the Great Sign Caper. I was going to give you guys a quick update on that, but yes, the gentleman was arrested on May 8th. He bailed out that same day, and he has a court date on June 30th, I believe. Hopefully he shows up. If he doesn't, a warrant will be issued for his arrest. Just a couple things on the PD front. Rumor control, damage control, ICE was in the city today. They notified us early this morning they were going to be out. They were not random raids. They had a specific set of locations they were serving warrants on. RPD did not assist them in any fashion. That was just a notification for us that they were going to be in the city. We don't know if they're going to come back and do more, but they were at various locations throughout the city earlier today. And then also for this coming weekend on Friday and Saturday, there are scheduled protests for downtown Riverside. You guys are obviously welcome to exercise your First Amendment right, but you're also welcome to stay away from that area as well. Outside of that, I don't have any other updates. LaShawn has something real quick.
So for those of you who don't know me, I'm LaShawn Haley. I'm your community service officer. And I just have a couple announcements. Next Wednesday at the new Panera here up of Alessandro near the LA Fitness, we'll be hosting a coffee with a cop. So they provide free coffee, bagels, just a chance to come and hang out with our officers, our detectives, and just talk about anything, baseball, football, the world. It's nothing specific. It's from 8:30 to 9:30 for 1 hour. And so if you're available next Wednesday, we'll be at the new Panera. And then, no donut. Well, they have pastries. They have pastries there, right? So whatever they sell there is pretty much for free. Coffee, tea, they do the bagels, their pastries. And then I also have my Huda call list. If you don't have our contact information or the numbers here for the city, I'll leave this on the table over there as well. And then I think that's all I have.
Any questions for me? This is awesome. All right, cool. Love it. Thank you.
Okay, so now we have Gregory from the Water District. Oh, no, we've got, okay, hand it over to Gregory. Gregory's trustee assistant.
Good evening, everyone. I just have a few updates before I hand it over to Gregory. Again, my name is Melissa Bustamonte. A quick update on the rates. So our board of directors approved the 4-year rate adjustment plan at the June 4th board meeting. This was last week. So I appreciate everyone who participated, went to the workshops, submitted public comments, etc. The new rates will take effect on July 1st. If you want to view the full rate schedule, you can view it on our website, westernwaterca.gov/rates, or give our customer service a call anytime. They could break it down for you as well. With that being said, we have our low income assistance program that you are welcome to apply for. There are some requirements, so just go to our website for more info, along with some rates. If you want to apply for rates, you can always do that as well. Aside from that, I wanted to remind everyone, sorry, distracting in the back. I wanted to remind everyone to update all of your contact info if you haven't already, if you moved to another part of the city, in our service area, etc. just because if you want to get emergency alerts, say if there's a planned shutdown or an emergency water shutdown, you'll get all of those digital alerts like call, text, email, etc. Right to your phone. So you could do that through our customer service, or you could head over to westernwaterca.gov/updatemyinfo. The last update that I have is we'll be having the traveling art show stop by our headquarters up the street at Meridian. So this will be from June 17th through July 1st in the first floor lobby. So head over if you have kids, free art show, you could walk in through our business hours. Aside from that, I'm going to hand it over to Gregory. He's our customer service rep. If you have any questions, we'll be sticking around for a little bit longer before the forum begins. If you need assistance with any rebates, customer service questions, rates, or you need help with the water use portal. So, thank you.
I've got it right here. The water district brought their own cheerleading crowd.
Which one advances? This one here? All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I'm going to try and talk over the combat. Want to thank Melissa Bustamonte, the real brains of the operation. So here to talk about the advanced metering infrastructure and the supporting tools that makes available, and answer some questions we've been having recently about it, and just share some useful information to help you with your property, with your water usage, and with your bills. So for starters, the advanced metering infrastructure, we're going to call it AMI going forward. That's the industry standard acronym for it. So one of the questions we get is with the old meters, you can see the numbers moving. You can look at it to see if you have a leak. The new ones have the same feature. It's just digitized. So with magnetics inside the meter and the water flow, they power it. So we no longer have to depend on mechanical devices, which break down and wear down over time. Much longer shelf life. The screen on there, it's kind of like a calculator. There's a light sensor. You can shine a light on it, or you can close the lid and open it up, and it'll get the numbers to display for you. If you have any issues with that, if it's not working, call us. We can help you over the phone. We can get someone out there to meet with you, show you how it works. Pretty quick and easy. So these meters do provide reads up to the second, but they communicate to our computers hourly reads every single hour. And that information is available to you as well. And that's what we're going to be talking about a little bit. Because of this, we're able to detect leaks. So if we see constant water flow every single hour, we know something's up. Either something's left on or there's a leak, and we can reach out and say, hey, there's an issue. We have a system in-house where we automatically monitor for this. Anytime something comes up, we review really quick and reach out. Phone call, email, letter. Another reason you really want to update your contact info so we can get a hold of you, prevent a high bill, prevent property damage in that inevitable, but hopefully never happen situation of having a leak. Now, as I mentioned, this information is available to customers through the Western Water Portal. So if you go to the website, look for the Western Water Portal, you're going to find it. We'll go over that a little bit too. But yeah, it's available 24/7, have all the information you need, and you can customize it to give you notifications if a certain threshold is met, however much water you want. If a certain volume flows, you can get a notification. If a certain volume flows over a certain amount of time, you can get a notification. So you can have it in your hands, able to control it and monitor it yourself. In addition to that, as a side item, we're going to talk about some rebate programs, indoor, outdoor rebates, turf replacement. There's a lot available. So if you have any interest in becoming more efficient, utilizing tools, getting rid of some of that grass, there's incentives to help you with the cost of that and get money back to you. So the AMI project update, this is the really fun and juicy part that I love a lot. So this project update has gone in 3 phases, and it's essentially taking out the old antiquated meters and replacing them with the AMI meters. One of the questions I get asked a lot about this is, how much does this cost? Where is the money coming from? This is grant funded. This is not something that's funded by the rates that are paying into the bill. Grant funded under the basis of minimizing leaks and water waste, minimizing high bills for customers, and just mitigating water loss in general. So based on that, got some funding, rolled it out in 3 waves. The vast majority of all meters are replaced. I'm confident 99, if not 100% of the people in this room have the AMI meter if you're with Western Water. So all these tools are going to be available to you. So customers have been notified by letter and door hanger and inserts in the bill just saying this is what's going to happen. It's going to be replaced. If you have any issues, call us. We can coordinate different timings if access is an issue. So over 1,700 meters have been replaced. It's a ton. Long project, a lot of data, which I myself was handling, and it was extensive, but it was an amazing project and very happy about the results. Before we move to the next page, one of the things I get asked about is the safety of the meters. A lot of people have concerns about the radio frequency emissions from it. As a side point, separate from this presentation, the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, determines the safety regulations on radio frequency emissions and how that interacts with humans and animals and plants and what's the safety levels. They've determined that 1.6 watts is the safety threshold. On average, these meters are emitting 0.5 watts. So it's well below the threshold and outside your property. That doesn't mean, don't look into it. Don't do your own investigation. But if you have questions, if you have concerns, call us. We can talk about it. But yeah, that's one of the reasons we're able to put this out there, because it's well within safety limits. Over 3,300 proactive notifications have gone out. What we mean by that is, instead of customers coming to us and saying, oh my gosh, I have a high bill, do I have a leak? We were able to reach out to them and say, hey, we have news for you. There might be an issue. Can we help? So 3,300 proactive messages have gone out, helping people identify leaks even before they're aware of them. That's one of the main benefits of this system. In addition to, the electronic reads allow us to mitigate labor costs as a rate increase factor. So we were able to reduce the proposed rate increases by minimizing labor costs through this type of technology. Prior to the system, when customers reach out to us with a leak, we have to get in some information to verify data so we can help them on the bill. One of those pieces of information is, what's the date that you found the leak? What's the date that you repaired it? Using that information and the information we have now, we were able to make a comparison of the before AMI and after AMI. And we're basically, with that data, we were able to verify that we reduced the average time by 66%. So over 50%, we were able to reduce the timing of when people identify and fix their leaks. That's a lot of time of massive water flow, property damage, a lot of costs to repair it, high bills. We were able to cut that down significantly. Saving, as an estimate, $160,000 in avoided imported water costs. So all that water that's being used, that gets paid for. Water that's wasted, water that has leaks, the water district still has to pay for that. That means that goes into the rates. That's another thing that we're doing to minimize rate increases with this technology, catch it before it becomes a significant issue. And then, of course, we have the educational tools that are available through this technology, and that's what we'll dive into a little bit here. So this is a brief snapshot of the Western Water portal after you log in. I'm going to be at my desk if anyone needs help getting registered. If you need help with anything, I'm happy to help. But once you get logged in, this is what you're going to see. And we're going to go over these three items on the left side here. Can't see very well, but on the left side in the blue, you'll see dashboard, alerts, and usage. So this is the dashboard. It's going to have your general information, average water usage over time. But we're going to dive in a little bit more into the alerts. So actually, I guess for starters, I should let you know this is not in gallons. This is cubic feet. That's the industry standard for reading the water through the meters. Every cubic foot is roughly 7.5 gallons, 7.48 to be specific. But that's the usage we're looking at here. Now, under the alerts page, this is where you can program it. You can tell it how much water flowing through the meter is too much, and you want a notification about that. Whether you want to monitor your kids using too much water in the shower, or too much irrigation, or if there's a leak. This is going to give you the ability to do that and receive immediate notifications once that data is reported on the meter, communicated, and made available to you. So here you can do things like program the time and the volume of water. Right now, we do have it adjusted so that you can switch from cubic feet to other increments, including gallons. So yeah, this is available. And of course, you can turn it on or off. Like if you're out of town, you can activate it. That way, you know, from this period to this period, I want those notifications. I don't want it all the time, only while I'm out of town or gone for the weekend or whatever it is that you need. You have the ability to control that. Oh, there's a pointer on here. Which one's that? That one? All right, look at that, folks. Got a pointer. All right. So yeah, technology. All right. So yeah, here you've got the out of town per meter notification. If you have multiple meters, you can add those in and monitor multiple at a time. But yeah, when you have it enabled, you can program the timing of when you want to receive those notifications and so forth. You can program the increments and if it's going to be a daily and the usage, things like that. So yeah, this is where you get that control. Now, the last thing is going to be the usage. And the thing to know here is that when you get into the usage, you can monitor hourly, daily, or monthly. Yeah, and actually annually. So here is where you can toggle between those options. You can also just click on any one of these days and it'll give you the hourly usage. And that's where you can see exactly what your patterns are. One of the things I personally get a lot is customers call in and they say like, why is my bill so high? And I take a look and I find out that there's a pattern. Every day at the same time or every other day at the same time, there's a huge spike in usage. And I say, do you know what's going on? For example, 10 a.m. every other day, 9 a.m. every other day. And they say, no, my sprinklers are off, but they find out, oh, actually my gardener changed the sprinklers and I forgot, or he didn't tell me. Or if there's a power outage for any reason whatsoever, those sprinkler controllers, if there's no battery in them, or if they're not connected to some other backup energy system, they will reset to a factory default, which I promise you is very excessive. It's way excessive, and you're going to get a very high bill to go with your beautiful landscaping, possibly oversaturated. So this is where you can look at things like that and see exactly what's going on. And it's a very useful tool. And of course, if you're looking at it and you say, I don't think that's right, I want to dispute that. Well, now you have the data to call us and say, let's look further into that. And we can do that. We have free programs where beyond looking at this, we can get someone out to the property to do an investigation with you into your landscaping, check for leaks, check your sprinkler controllers, everything you need at no cost. So we're gonna go a little bit deeper into the, this is the yearly right here. Actually, we just broadened it to the yearly. That you can get like average comparison, but this is what I wanna go into is the daily, where you can see the hourly usage. So this is pretty typical. What you're going to see is the zeros, right? No usage. There shouldn't be any usage while everyone's asleep. Get some spikes in the morning. If there's irrigation, could be bigger spikes. But yeah, this is where you can get the more specific details into that. So yeah, this is the portal. Again, I'm going to be over at the desk over here. But if you don't feel like coming up today, give us a call. We can help you through it over the phone. You can, of course, come into the office. We can help you there as well over on Meridian. And that's going to be it for the presentation. I know it's a little bit fast. I get a little bit excited about things and talk a little bit quick, so I apologize for that. But does anyone have any questions or concerns they'd like to voice? Melissa, you want to throw me a curveball? Free for everyone except you, yes. Free. Yeah, completely free of charge. Yes, sir. Oh yeah, microplastics. So it's something that's been on the radar for a while, before it's been on the news. I know it's something that is being looked into constantly. The standards that go out, I believe federally, are actually lower. They're actually, lower than the standards that the specific water district has. Now, when it comes to the actual process of treating it and ensuring that they are within the thresholds and under the regulated limits, that's where I'm gonna have to get to my water quality experts. But if you're interested, I'll pull that data and I can give you a call tomorrow morning with all the info you need. But yeah, highly on the radar. People are very aware of that even before the news is communicating it. These are microplastics that get into the groundwater and eventually in the water table, potentially into the water systems as a result of the plastics that we have and everything that we use as a society. Now, groundwater is the real issue. You're going to have it more in the wells where it's less regulated, and that's where the county of public health would assist with that. In our systems, because we're purchasing it from a highly treated system, it's much less of a problem, even though we're still obligated and very happy to check for that ourselves. Yeah, any other questions? Yes, sir. This is browser-based currently. Good question. That's one I get a lot too. I would love to have an app. We don't have it yet. This one, we're working with a third-party company, and this is like within the limitations of what they've made available to us. But we are currently looking into an app ability to have that for everyone that way. So it should be faster, streamlined. A few things are going to be more efficient, more user-friendly, and that is down the pipeline, but this is available for now. Yes. Yeah, we have to shut down the water. And basically between 5 to 15 minutes. So what we were doing is when technicians went out, if somebody was home, they would give a knock or call me and say, hey, can you call this customer? Tell them be off for about 5-15 minutes. Usually it's on the shorter side because our technicians really know what they're doing. So yeah, they'll shut it off, swap the meter out, turn it back on, and we're good to go. Yeah. And this has already been completed. Yeah. But yeah, on the topic of shutting off meters, everyone, just as a side note, everyone should know how to shut off their water. I mean, you're always welcome to call us and we can get someone out there. But if you've got a leak, if you've got a sprinkler system and you don't know how to shut it off, you're at the mercy of someone driving over there, getting through traffic, and your bill's going up, getting property damage all the time. So if you have any questions how to shut off your meter, we've got videos online. You can give us a call. It's a really good safety thing to know how to do yourself and to test it, make sure it is working fine.
For questions, you'll be here.
Yeah, yes. With the county areas, We only cover in our service area. I know that the AMI meters are widespread. A lot of other water districts are installing them. So Riverside County, City of Riverside Public Utilities, yes. In the Murrieta area, we have installed many. I want to say we're over 50% installation now. Eastern Municipal, which covers like Moreno Valley, Benefi, they've pushed a lot with AMI, yes. So yeah, generally speaking, yes. We haven't done anything directly with like county limits, only in our service area. Okay. Oh, good. Yes, then I'm positive you have it. If you're in our service area, whether you're county or city, 99% sure you're going to have it. What city are you in? In county. Okay. Oh, then yeah, very positive. If Woodcrest area, yes, 99% sure you already have it installed. Yeah. Yeah, come see me. We can verify. But yeah, before I get the crane pulled off, I'm going to call it here. So thank you very much for having me here. Yeah, thank you.
So you're now going to have Hal from 2001 running your water. So Hal will say, I'm sorry, Dave, but you used too much water yesterday when you took a shower. I'm cutting you off today. You're going to have to use less water. You know where that name Hal came from for the movie? Trivia question. You know where that name Hal came from? Brian knows. Because it's the letters just before IBM. Hal. The letters just before IBM. Think about it. Okay. Couple other little announcements. He took my card, but Catherine, hold up a card. There you go. That's the March JPA is still trying to get more flights out of the base. Oh no, you can keep it. She's got a pile of them. So if any questions, see Catherine about it, but the March JPA is still going to be functioning on the base, even though they're giving up the area outside of the base. We responded to the environmental impact report that had to do with that a while back. Yes. And then Brian, you had something you want to talk about house numbers?
Real quick, one of our members has a business and she is making it. Everybody needs their house numbers painted on their curb. These are actually stickers that go on and they last. And she is going to donate $10. If you buy one and have it installed, which is $32, she's going to donate $10 to the organization. But you can have whatever you want. You can have flags. You can have City of Riverside. You can have palm trees and oranges. Or she even has the logo for the Mission Grove Neighborhood Association, if you want to be a diehard. Anyways, the flyers on the back, again, stickers are $27.18, $5 to install, $32.18, and she'll donate $10 back. She would have been here, but her husband was sick, so I told her to go home.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Okay, very briefly, the March JP West Campus, everyone knows they did the vote and basically turned down the West Campus for now, but it's going to go over to the county in July, so we'll see what happens there. The Adventure Park is still moving forward. They're replacing the golf course down on the north side. I have not heard when the next public meeting is, so we'll let you know when that is. The Kmart project, we settled the case. After negotiations for several months, we're going to post the results and then we'll review them in more detail next month, but the case is over. We reduced the size of the project and the height of the project and several other things. So we'll fill you in on that and get that sent out and posted on the website. The AQMD just voted a couple of days ago, 7-5, to defeat the proposed rule for eliminating gas appliances. Sean Mill just posted that. I want to thank him for that, keeping us up to date on that. They were going to impose stiff penalties if you still had a gas home and you wanted to replace your gas water heater. It was going to be a fine of like $1,500. So that got defeated for now, but I'm sure it's going to come back later. We've got this whole thing that we want to get rid of natural gas, which is one of the biggest resources we have, you know, and you don't have to do much to refine it or anything, and it works. Group tours and special classes, we're still working on that. Anyone got, we've got some tours we're going to send out stuff on and talk about classes during the summer, just before the meeting or starting the meeting, like in Stop the Bleed and CPR and some of those things. So we hope people will be interested in that. The city council, you all know from the last meeting, they passed a new part of the resolution, basically eliminating any audio or video help with public comment periods. We were the ones mainly doing that. And so they took that out, and they're having a meeting tomorrow on new temporary sign ordinance workshop, tomorrow on the 12th at Bryant Park. We don't know what that has to do with business signs, realtor signs, and so on. We don't know if they'll have anything to do with nonprofit organization signs like us, but I wouldn't be surprised. So, and here's our future meetings: July, August, September, and October. We're going to have the police chief in July. September, Supervisor Medina will be here. He was supposed to be here tonight, but he thought he was going to have a long meeting with the March JPA. And we'll have the fire chief in October. They're all the second Wednesday of the month, so you can find those. And if you've gotten one of these Athens notification tags with your trash telling you put the wrong trash in the wrong bin, let us know. We'd like to see what those are and what they're claiming, and we're going to try to get them back out here to talk about what trash goes in what bin. But we do know some people that have gotten warnings, and that's what they look like. Here's the fire map. We showed that last month. We're located right down in here somewhere right now. So you can see the red zone is the highest insurance ratings now, and parts of Mission Grove are right up in here. We're just out of it, the areas. And now the 63rd California Assembly District Special Election. Hoorah! We've got 3 of our candidates here. Here are the 5 candidates running. We just heard today there is a write-in candidate, Marikar, and Natasha couldn't be here, but we've got Chris, Vincent, and Zachary. Come on up. Take your place up here in the front, guys. Who's that? Natasha? Yeah, she just called us a day or so ago and said. All right, so I'll put their pictures back in a minute. Here's the way it's going to work. We'll go do opening remarks for 1.5 minutes for each of them. They can talk about themselves, whatever they want to talk about. Then we'll have questions. We gave them 3 or 4 questions to kind of tee it up so we wouldn't blast them away right away. So we gave them 3 or 4 questions. So we'll go through those. And then we've got other questions, and we'll take questions from the audience. We gave you cards. You can write down questions. We'll gather those. Maybe you can gather those around the tables, see if how many we've got. And then if we have time, we'll just take live questions, if that's okay, guys, at the end with that. And then we'll have closing remarks for 2.5 minutes. It's not a debate of this. We're just trying to find out what it is. Audience rules, complete the question cards, open questions if we can, be respectful and polite. We don't want to turn in this into, something where somebody has a stroke or something. The last thing we want. Okay. All right, so we will start. We will start with one of our 4 questions that we gave the groups. Warehouses. What? Oh, introduce yourself first. I'm sorry, guys. You get your minute and a half. I'm so excited. So you can use the mic there at the table. You can either stand where you are, or sit and use the mic there. Pops right off. Is it on?
There we go.
Okay.
That's hot. Oh, how's everyone doing? Hi, glad to be here. I wasn't invited last time, but it's okay. Yeah, well, you know. My name's Vincent Romo. I'm running for California State. Yeah, maybe we can turn that one off. Can I reclaim my time? All right, is that better? All right. All right, so my name is Vincent Romo. I decided to run for California State Assembly because I was complaining so much to my wife. She said, why don't you just run for the Assembly? I'm a California history professor. I teach U.S. Constitution as well, among many other subjects. I'm highly involved in my local community. I'm a former Division I football player, and because of that, I recognize the value of sports within our youth. And one of the things this past baseball season I noticed is we don't have enough fields to practice on. You know, everyone wants to talk about crime and all of these things about adding more money to the police force. We need to really cut the problem off where it starts, and that's with the youth. So my whole goal here is to bring money to this district because this seat has only been used to virtue signal in a lot of ways, but also to apply more taxes, more fees, car registration fees, and all of those things. So my whole goal is to completely abolish the California income tax. And the way you do that as a constitutional historian of California is you use Article 2, Section 8 of the California Constitution, and you completely eliminate the California income tax. Because whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, I think we can all agree on that one principle right there. And we shouldn't be the ones budgeting. It should be the state. So I want to push it back, push government back to the local level, small government, big results.
Perfect. Okay. Yes, thank you for having me. My name is Zachary Consalvo, and I'm also, running up to be your next assembly member. I was here last time. I'm a husband, a father, and a believer. And a real big reason that I'm running is because I feel like that we really lack a representative government, really in Riverside County, but in the state as a whole, because the state is an administrative state where the administrators actually, there's a law actually that overrules the elected officials and their laws. So we need to, rein them in the state level and also on the local level. I'm always reading about how the city council, even like one of the questions here was saying the city council is actually against putting the power lines underground. And even with the mission, the big development here by JPA the other day by the Air Force Base that finally got denied by the supervisors, that was all okayed by them as well. So we really need to rein them in and have a say. And also, I want to unite the district as well, past our political divisions. I'm not running as a Republican or a Democrat, so it does put me in a good position. And also with the other assembly members, I want to have a good relationship with them. I don't want to politicize them as Republicans or Democrats, and I'll pass any bill regardless. And I also want to do a tax audit of the entire state, so we can, and every county, city in the state and the entire state, and then we will redirect that money to public services and maybe cut some taxes.
All right, so the projector is a little like deer in headlights, so I'm going to stand over here so I can see myself think. All right, good evening. My name is Chris Shoults. I am the Democrat in the race for 8063. I am a husband of 30 plus years to my high school sweetheart. We have 3 sons together. I am a career public school educator, but I was raised in a Republican household on a working farm in southeastern Wyoming. So I spent the first half of my life behind the wheel of a John Deere tractor. I am an English teacher at both the high school and college levels, but I can weld you up something nice and fix your car in the parking lot if you have any problems on your way home. I'm also serving my 3rd term on my executive board for my local education association, and I'm on the bargaining team. Flip side of that, my wife and I have a large family childcare home out of our residents. So I also understand what it means to open the business liability insurance and have it be 33% higher. I understand what it means to pay statutory or payroll taxes. There are a lot of places where I come from both sides of the table. And so it gives me a nice broad appeal to voters across the district. I'm in this race because of a few things that haven't been addressed. Number one, affordability is still in crisis mode, and I'm an everyday average Californian, and I have the same response to the gas pump or to the electric bill that you do. Secondly, we need to start having some productive conversations around education instead of just continuation of culture wars. And then we need economic diversity, particularly in our areas, so that we're creating good jobs, so that people aren't living on the 15 and the 215, and so that we're creating a future where people can afford the housing we're building here, people can be vested members of their community, and we are creating a future that we want. Thank you.
Okay, our first question for the group, warehouse oversupply. I think I've got.
Yeah, so the warehouse problem is a huge problem. And if you go to Cal Access, you can look at where these other candidates get their money. I'll tell you, a lot of them are two sides of the same coin, taking money from lobbyists. And that's what California has become with the term limits, taking money from lobbyists, and these become lobbyist seats. So someone like myself who decides to run and completely self-finance their campaign, I am 100% against the warehouses because I deal with it. One of the biggest problems we have is the larger governments, in terms of the state government, is telling us what to do and how to operate. And in doing so, a lot of money comes from outside the district. And what's happening in terms of the warehouses, it's basically a tax write-off extraction of wealth. What they want to do is create these big giant warehouses that essentially lay empty. They use it as a tax write-off for 5 years, and then they pull out and leave an empty building. That needs to stop. And the only way to really stop that is without lobbyist money going up to Sacramento representing this seat, because that's exactly what you'll get. Go to Cal Access, please look that up. Another big problem with the warehouses is it's unsightly, right? If these are going to be productive warehouses, that's fine, but they also need to contribute to infrastructure. We can't be paying the toll roads. We can't be paying all of these other fees that make our lives more difficult, make our lives more expensive. And for what? For a warehouse to sit completely empty when we in my community don't have a community center. We in my community don't have a beautiful building like this for kids to come and practice karate. I tried to start a youth wrestling program. We have nowhere to put it. So my goal is to completely eliminate the lobbyist money and recalibrate the system into a more people-centric way of life, how California used to be.
Thank you. And yes, I'm completely against the warehouses right now. We have a complete overdevelopment, and a lot of that does have to do though with the city and the people that run the county, the city, and even the state not listening to the people's wishes. And during the council meetings, they do that a lot, and we have to hold them accountable. This another thing where I'm going to say it again. We need to reverse the city manager system. Maybe after a city gets to 100,000 people in population, it can automatically be put up for a vote. And then we can have a strong mayor and good council members that actually put the city first in their area first. And also economic policies that I would be for is, like I said, stopping the warehouses. But right now, like Mr. Romo said, a lot are sitting empty. And also they're not offering us good jobs. So we could convert them to manufacturing hubs, which is something the federal government is trying to do anyway. And they're going to places like Texas or Delaware. They are coming back to America or reshoring, but they're not coming here. So we can get them to come here. Also, I've seen them convert warehouses to churches because it's hard to build churches in California because all the regulations. We could have churches there. We could even have, I know some people might be against it, but Riverside passed 80% to have marijuana dispensaries. Corona and Paris, they put them in their by their warehouses. We could do that to keep them away from the people, and then it would give us $2 million a year in taxes, which we're not getting right now because for some reason the council does not want to do it. Thank you.
Stare right into that thing sitting there. All right, and I would advise you to take Mr. Romo's advice and do go check out Cal Access. I have a broad coalition of labor, union labor, building trades, education, folks who are backing me. I have not taken any money from corporate interests. I have not taken any money from real estate developers. I'm not taking money from the people who like to build those. I'm taking money from groups that represent everyday working Californians. What I will tell you is this: we have a problem in terms of oversaturation with warehousing and over-reliance on logistics here, especially with the tariffs and with the trade war that we have going on at the moment. We're going to see that trickle out from the ports. It's already been softening over the past year or so in terms of the industry itself. We've lost jobs. And so what we need to do is look out over the hump and say, what do we want here? Is that biotech? Is it tech? Is it whatever the case happens to be? We have to make that decision soon. We have to commit to that. And then we have to bring dollars back to the district to build infrastructure, whether that's water, whether that's electricity, whether that's transportation, transit, whatever the case is. We need the infrastructure so that we can commit to that, so that folks aren't out here living on the 15 and the 215. We're creating good jobs for folks in the community so they can afford those houses that we're building, so that they can stay in the community, they can be vested members. And we're building the communities that we want, and we're supporting the education institutions, and those things are all piecing out together in a way that makes sense for our future, for those folks, our kids and our grandkids who come after us. Go for it. I'm already standing up.
Hello. Underground electric lines. Riverside residents have pushed for undergrounding electrical transmission lines like those proposed between Jurupa Valley and Riverside to reduce wildlife risk and improve community aesthetics, but face resistance from City Council and Southern California Edison due to high costs. As a state assembly candidate, would you support state funding or policies to facilitate undergrounding power lines in Riverside? And how would you address the cost and safety concerns to benefit residents?
We're in a weird spot with this one, and I talk about this a lot. We have some lofty goals in California, and sometimes the consumer gets caught in the crossfire. They are collateral damage. You have to understand that Edison's rate structure is return on asset. So theoretically, they don't make money on the electricity itself. They're passing along at cost. However, they do have their fingers in the cookie jar to the tune of about 7 cents per dollar that's spent, because they have they have generation facilities, so they're creating some of that power as well. And so when we start talking about putting a whole lot of money into the grid, and right now we're in this tough spot because Riverside needs a second transmission line, right? We're trying to keep up with some of those lofty mandates about going EV and all those sorts of 100% EV, and we don't have the infrastructure to do that at the moment. So we're caught in a space where with CEQA, there's a lot of permitting time, especially with the undergrounding. We need the power supply, the additional infrastructure now. And so we're kind of pulling against each other. If we're going to go with the cost to put it underground, guess whose pocket that's probably going to come out of? You know, Edison's going to pass it along to us. Is it a bad idea? No, aesthetically, that's the right thing to do. In terms of fire maps, it's probably the right thing to do. It's kind of like going to the gas pump. If we drive all of the refineries out of the state and you have to pay $8 a gallon for that, can we do that? So as an assembly member, I am a guy who looks at incremental change and sustainable change, and change that allows the consumer to survive the process. So I'm open to any number of solutions, but right now we're in that transition space that's tough to just say yes or no to anything in particular.
Thank you. Yes, and I fully support putting the lines underground. And you know, it was something that caused the fires up north and the Paradise, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken. So the cost actually might for the state or the city might be a lot at first, but it would actually in the long run help us, because the cost of having a huge wildfire, it'd be a lot less than that. And also maybe we could actually get insurance, because that could be a factor why we can't get insurance, because they won't want to insure us if we have above ground power lines that actually cause fires. So to me, it's common sense. And it's another reason why we need a strong mayor city, I believe. Also, we need to change the law. We literally have a law from 1911 that governs basically through the state our utilities. I'm not 100% sure the name of the law is like RPU or something, or RPUC. We need to reverse that law. The public voted that law in to reverse the corruption. But what happened is we're literally being run by like 2 private companies since 1911. One of them is the company here that's causing a lot of these fires and does not want to pay for them. So we need to reverse that law at the state level. So I would support that, and to fund them. I would actually support doing a tax audit of, like I said, of the whole entire state. And I think doing a tax audit and and putting the money towards wildfire prevention, putting the lines underground, things like that, because they're going to administrators. We have people at the state level that make 3 million, like coaches and stuff, people that make 500,000, and they're supposed to be public servants.
So in California, we don't have a money problem. We don't have a revenue problem. We have a spending problem. We also have a problem with negligence as well. So when you're talking about Southern California Edison in particular, we are paying higher rates, not because we aren't doing the right thing as consumers and putting more solar panels up and all of that stuff. We are paying the rates higher because of their negligence, because of fires and lawsuits. Billions of dollars worth of lawsuits are being paid, not by SoCal Edison, but by us. Because I'll tell you what, my wife's a financial advisor, and all of those SoCal Edison folks have really nice, fat $1 million pensions. They all retire with $1 million, which is great, good, great job. But at the same time, it comes at the cost of consumers. Our prices are not going down. Those lines need to be underground because that mitigates risks and that lowers insurance costs, and all of those things help the average consumer. They are not interested in helping the average consumer. They've raised to NEM 3. If you guys know, your rates have gone up. And your rates will continue to go up. I wrote an article about this. You could read it on Substack about all the rate increases that are coming our way, primarily because nobody is in Sacramento fighting for that. They have pipe dreams in terms of EV mandates that they'll never see because they're termed out. They want to run for president, meaning Gavin Newsom. And so he's using us as political pawns. And we are tired of paying the price. That's one of the primary reasons I ran. As a historian, I went to the Rogers estate in Pacific Palisades, and it broke my heart that it burned down. And it burned down not because they couldn't do it the right way, it's because of negligence. And I'm tired of the negligence in this government.
All right, next question. Party-centric politics. Riverside residents, like many Californians, are frustrated by partisan gridlock in Sacramento and across the nation, basically, where party line voting often overshadows local needs such as addressing Riverside's high tax burden or improving housing affordability. As a state assembly candidate, how will you prioritize Riverside's unique needs, such as reducing costs and improving infrastructure, over party pressures? And if you're an independent, how will you influence policy in a Democrat-dominated legislature to benefit Riverside residents?
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I'm next, right? We're going that way. Okay. Thank you. Yes, as an independent, I would actually come up with common sense policies that would actually I would be able to sway the Democratic majority to support them. I believe in terms of cost of living and the amount of taxes that we pay, like I keep mentioning, is tax audit. I believe if we did some sort of tax audit where we saw where everything was going, and we could put that back into the community to cover our public services from there and other costs as well. Also, we need to make sure, let me check this question again. I'm so sorry. I'm losing my train of thought. And we need to get rid of regulation. I'm sorry about that. There's so much regulation. In terms of the infrastructure, we need to make sure that there's less regulation because we have so much regulation here, and that would drive down cost. Now, I know there's a law that I heard here last time. I think it's called RENA. That the state is forcing the cities to develop essentially, or they're going to charge them fees. I don't agree with that, but I believe if we had less regulation and more competition, it would drive down the cost as well. So we need to make sure we have less regulation. And as far as the infrastructure goes, we need to figure out how to get more of a housing supply out here, but also not have everything. So it's like right now it costs about $600,000 to get a house here or more. That's for the average person, which a millennial like me cannot afford. So we need to get that down. Thank you.
No.
All right. I'll take my turn. I think one of the things that Mr. Consalvo alluded to is local control. And I've talked to city councils about this, and you guys have exercised that in your voices with the March Joint Powers Authority and in a number of other places with the city council. And so ultimately, I'm never going to know your neighborhood like you know your neighborhood. The experts on Lake Elsinore are going to be the folks who live there, and ultimately they're duly elected officials. And so we need to make sure that we're listening to local voices. My job as an assembly member is to make sure that I'm passing policy that does us some good locally, and that I'm returning resources to the district in ways that local governments are telling me are going to be useful and helpful to them in doing what they need to do in the ways that they need to do it. Now, we do have a supermajority at the moment. As I told you before, I grew up in a Republican household. My mother was a Republican precinct committee woman. I've been a Democrat my whole life, but we do this weird thing where we sit down around the kitchen table and change each other's minds sometimes. I don't care where a good idea comes from. I just care that it's a good idea. And so ultimately, that's my approach. Whether you like it or not at the moment, we do have that supermajority. And so what it's going to take is that incremental change. It's going to take a guy who is a Democrat at the moment to have some common sense conversations, not care where the ideas are coming from, to affect the kind of change that you're looking for and get things done. In the past few years, what you've gotten is zero return on your investment for your assembly member. You've gotten no legislation and you've gotten no funds returned to the district. And so if you want something from this seat, I'm the guy you're going to need to send.
Well, I'll just say you've gotten zero return from a Democratic supermajority over the last 30 years, and that needs to change. So I'm not here about partisan politics at all. In fact, my own party hates me. I get more harassment from my own party because I'm running out of my own pocket. That's how much I believe in my message. And from day one, my campaign slogan was small government, big results, because the government gets in the way of a good thing, gets in the way of good business, gets in the way of housing shortage, it gets in the way of all of our problems. If we can move the government further away, only operating what they're supposed to operate, and the local government, you folks in this room, like Mr. Shoults said, know what your community needs more than some bureaucrat in Sacramento. And what they're trying to do as well is legislate curriculum, legislate fire protection, legislate all the money that is going up to the state and then pushing it back down, but with contingencies, saying we want to build giant housing units in neighborhoods that don't want them because we're the government. And so I'm here to completely disrupt the system within my own party. I'm a renegade, and in Sacramento as well. And I believe that there's nobody better that knows the California Constitution, the US Constitution, but also can stand on the floor and make a logical argument that would make every 80-20 issue our side and bring the government back to balance, because it's not about party, it's about balance. We need to move everything back towards the middle.
Homelessness and public safety. Riverside has been seen a rise in homelessness with visible encampments along with Santa Ana River and increased concerns about public safety and cleanliness in neighborhoods. For a typical resident earning $85,000 and paying $2,000 or more in local utility fees, these issues impact quality of life and perceptions of value for their tax dollars. What state level policies would you advocate to address homelessness in Riverside, balancing compassionate solutions with public safety and community cleanliness? And how would you fund them without increasing taxes on middle income residents?
Again, we don't have a revenue problem, we have a spending problem. We need to get rid of some of the incentives that fuel this homeless industrial complex, because a lot of you probably know, my family's been here for over 125 years. This wasn't a problem until they started throwing money at the problem. And then it created a bigger problem and a bigger problem. And pretty soon, now we are basically seeing our tax dollars go towards things that don't matter to us, right? The homeless problem is a problem. There's compassionate ways to do that. But in terms of legislation, we need to undo what Reagan unfortunately did way back in the yesteryears before I was even born. But as a historian, I know that, 50% of homeless, I would even venture to say more, have mental health issues or a drug problem or a combination thereof. So we cannot continue to fuel the fire of these non-government organizations and quote unquote charities doing work that churches used to do on behalf of the community for free, right? And so we are fueling this $30 billion in Los Angeles, $30 billion unaccounted for. Nobody knows where it went. Why? Because people are greasing their pockets and palms and everybody else, along with the party politicians and the lobbyists who are fueling the homeless industrial complex. I'll just leave you with one of my fellow Republicans who decided not to show up. They gave her city a $12.6 million grant. And in that grant, it helped 100 homeless people. That's $126,000 per a homeless person. How many kids could we have sent to college right here at UC Riverside for that money?
Yes, thank you. And this is a subject that I do feel very passionate about. I used to actually run a homeless ministry at a Nazarene church in Los Angeles in Koreatown. And I know we can do it from a compassionate way. Also, I do know there's many, there's different ways, mainly 3 ways people become homeless. Yes, it could be mental health, it could be drugs, or a combination of both, or even could be bad luck. The cost of living here, you could get divorced, you could lose your job, and that's it, you're on the streets, So we want to be careful with that as well and make sure we approach that area with compassion. And then also, I agree 100%. We need to make sure that the tax money for the homeless is going to the homeless. I mean, as much as Gavin Newsom, I might disagree with him. One thing he did say, he mentioned, remember, he didn't want to give money to the counties for the homeless. And then everyone cried to him and said he was being incompassionate. But the counties are not being held accountable and the cities are not being held accountable for where that money goes. So that's why, like I keep saying, if we did a tax audit, at least we could say, hey, this money, and honestly too, we need to at least get down to voting where our taxes go. So we could say, hey, we want this percentage of our taxes to go to the homeless. And we need to really make sure that we do it in a compassionate way. We also need to be able to, on a state level, figure out how we can provide them housing, and also how the cities can have more power to get rid of them from places where they're living, but without violating their constitutional rights. So we have to be careful with that. We have to offer them housing and not take their personal belongings because it's against the Constitution. And the ACLU will sue the city and the state. Thank you.
Okay, a couple of quick things on this one. If you're in terms of business owners and things like that, we want to talk about the fact, I think it's a 605 letter that allows law enforcement to actually be a help in terms of if they're trespassing on private property or business property. Housing first is always going to be the solution here. A dollar in prevention saves us $1.44 down the line. It's the same thing that we talk about with education and early childhood. If we spend money earlier, it costs us less later down the line, whether that's in incarceration or whether that's in trying to retrace our steps and fix our problems later. In terms of it not costing anymore, if we're trying to create more regional beds, if we're trying to create more long-term support options, if we're trying to create housing that we can actually get people into and they stay in and are stable in, we need to make sure that we're bringing some of those resources back here in a useful way. These guys are right in terms of only about 25 to 33%, depending on which of the programs you look at, have actually been spent from allocations that are pretty dang large over the past 4 years. So there's a lot of money that's obligated to fixing the homelessness problem, and we've only really spent 25 to 30% of that. So there is a deployment issue there on that one. The other piece of this is simply, with Prop 1, some of that money got pushed back up to the state, and so it's going to be a matter of making sure those resources come back here in a way that's useful, and that's going to take legislative advocacy. I wanted to talk a little bit more about the tax-based piece, and it didn't get out in any of these 4 questions, but I'm going to hope somebody put it on a card over there somewhere. Thank you. All right.
Take a question from the crowd here and modify it a little bit. We've seen at the local, city, county, state, and even the federal level, we're just spending all the time. So how are we going to stop all this spending, since there's so many people that start crying all the time as soon as you want to cut something, that you're cutting something from them or from some group or from somewhere, and it's very hard to verify any of those claims. So how do you propose that we balance the state budget in all this?
One of the things we need to make sure we're doing, a lot of times when we get extra money, so we had some high earners make a lot of money, and it bumped us even up against the GAN limit not too long ago, and we ended up pushing money back out to education and back out to taxpayers. But we see shiny things, right? We get some extra money in and we're like, let's start something new. Let's commit to something new. And ultimately, we have to decide what is really important to us, and we need to make sure that we're meeting those commitments and that we have the resources to meet those commitments well into the future. And so the number one priority there is to make sure we're taking care of business before we create new places to spend money. B, there's got to be some accountability for some of that money in terms of, is it actually going where we said it did? Is it disappearing administratively, or is it making it to the people who need it? And then ultimately, we have a lot of volatility in our tax system. And so we have to decide where we want to be with that. So I'm going to back up for a minute and talk about that as well. We all want public services, right? If our houses are on fire, we want a fire truck to show up and somebody to try to put it out, right? That costs money. We want to make sure that we're always taking care of essential services. A couple of things that I do want to talk about there quickly in terms of those cuts is sometimes it's cutting at the state level. Sometimes we need to put money back in your pocket, right? And when we talk about that, I want to talk about the homeowners exemption, for instance. Anybody know how many thousands of dollars that is at the moment that you can claim off your property taxes? $7K, and I'm out of time again to talk about it. Sorry. All right, I believe it's one of these gentlemen.
Yes, thank you. And in terms of balancing the state budget, local and state spending, I know I sound like a broken record already, but we really need to get some type of audit so then we can figure out where that money's going, and then we redirect it to city services, and then from there, or county services as well. And then from there, we can cut. We can figure out, okay, well, this is going to a logo, or this is going to an unneeded service that's not for the public. And then we can actually cut those taxes. We're not going to be able to do that, like kind of like the question's implying, unless we truly find out where that money is going. And if I could get a bill passed as your assembly member, which I could believe I could do that with the Democratic support, considering that even Gavin Newsom's complained about where the money is going and we have no idea. So if we did a tax audit and we redirected the money, we found out where it's going, from there we could say, okay, let's cut it. Let's cut X, Y, and Z. That's not going to public services, but we would include vital things. And also in terms of taxes, I would like to see us lower taxes on senior citizens as well. But I want to start, there's 2 bills that are already been written that I would also support, which would be an automatic tax cut. One would be for law enforcement retirees, and one would be for military retirees, which we're one of the only, I think the only state, maybe one more, that actually taxes military retirees. And then from there, we can say, okay, let's get rid of these taxes. And also all these measurements every year, they're always raising our taxes and we have no idea where they're going. So we got to figure that out too. Thank you.
I'll kind of go back to where I started. Well, abolish the income tax. How about that? Because like I tell my students, I always ask, who should be fighting, the people or the legislators? And everybody has this fictitious idea that the legislators should all just get along. No, no, no. They should be fighting each other to push down policy that comes back and that is beneficial to us. The problem is we haven't held our public officials accountable. And so by doing this, by eliminating the income tax, that puts the pressure back on them, because we are the ones who have to make budget cuts, not them. And that's not how it should be, because it's our money. This is our political seat. And quite frankly, what's been going on in terms of the overspending, it's just because they're children up there. They're children. They just love to just spend on whatever they want, shiny objects. Like Mr. Shoults said, you know, the California state income tax has progressively gone up over the course of the last 50 or 60 years. Some of you folks probably know better than me. How did the state operate in the 70s when the UC system was free for California residents? Where did that money go? So all of this stuff that we talk about in terms of services, we still had fire trucks in the 60s and 70s. We still had police. We still had a much better fire mitigation efforts going on because they didn't have barriers like CEQA and all that. So what we need to do is localize government, get the big guys out of the picture and make them fight each other. No longer us fighting over who's a Democrat and who's a Republican.
Sir.
I'm going to play off another one from the audience. Infrastructure is a big thing, and so is utilities. Water has always been a battle in this state. From the north to the south, who gets the water from the Colorado River, from the Sacramento Delta? So my question is, do you support desalination plants along the coast to supply the coastal communities and then rely on the other water for the inland areas so we're not having to pump it all kinds of areas or and new basins? Because Sacramento has basically avoided the whole water thing for about 4 or 5 decades. The last time they approved a new basin was like 40 or 50 years ago. And so how do you feel about that and the water issue?
Yes, and this was actually brought to my attention last time. And yes, I feel like it's a very vital issue. I actually went to college for environmental studies, and I had a concentration in sustainable agriculture. And my advisor there used to always joke with me, not joke, but he's very serious. He used to always say the next world war is going to be fought over water, because at the time we were still in Iraq over the oil. So he would always tell us, don't worry, the next one's going to be over water. So water is vital. And we need to make sure that there's too much regulation within the state. And this probably goes back to the law from 100 years ago that we still have. And also the administrative state that we also have within the state. I believe that all water should be public, and it's a public right. So the supplies we get also need to be public. We need to, and with the question about getting the water to turn the ocean water into fresh water to drink, I 100% agree with that. And it seems to me that the environmentalists, even though I went to school for environmental studies, I've found out that conservation is a lot less political than environmentalism, because when you try to build those, the environmentalists, they don't want it. They want to stop it. But then we're out here with no water, and we're getting our water from Colorado and up north. So yeah, we got to figure out where to get them from. We got to get the aqueduct working, all our aqueducts. And even though they get a lot of pollution from runoff and things like that, we got to figure out ways to clean those up and get more localized water and put it in the public's control.
Okay. A couple of things. Number one, and can you actually repeat the question one more time, just so I'm on it?
Yeah, it was about the water issue. We've been fighting over water for 100 years.
Okay.
We get our water from the north. We have to battle over it. The state wants to build more housing. Where are they going to get the water from it? One of the proposals is to put desalination plants along the coast to fit the coastal communities, and then the other water for the inland areas, so we're not pumping it over the mountains. And how do you feel about that and the water issue in general, since Sacramento hasn't addressed it for about 4 decades?
Right. And in Southern California, one way or the other, we end up importing a lot of our water, right? One of the things that's a little bit of a shame is that it's a very small fraction of the runoff that we actually are able to capture from when we do get wet seasons. And so we need to make sure that we're creating opportunities to hold on to that water. We're recharging our aquifers, and we're making sure we're making space for desalination, both on the coast, and we also know that we have to desalinate water, just because even if we're pulling it from underground, we're close enough to the coast that we have that problem, right? We have a salinization problem. So it's got to be a combination of things. And there was a fantastic presentation on that from Western Municipal Water District last time. So a lot of good things that they do have to say. But in Southern California, that's always going to be one of our infrastructure needs. And it's interesting because when we start talking about warehousing or housing, water's a big issue, right? You build a warehouse, what do you need? You build a lot of housing, you're going to need a lot of water, you need a lot of electricity, you need all those sorts of things. And so ultimately, yeah, I'm in favor of that, but I'm also in favor of making sure we do some other things locally in Southern California to capture resources that we're just letting go at the moment.
All right, so you're talking to somebody who studied at Cal State Northridge and has actually touched the documents of William Mulholland and his gravity-fed system that brings water down to Los Angeles. So I'm very well aware of the water issue and really how Southern California was shaped around this issue. We don't have as much of a water problem as you would think. Roughly a decade ago, we passed a proposition as citizens to invest in water storage. None of that has happened. None of that has happened. They have reallocated that money probably to homelessness or things that don't actually improve our lives as a community as a whole. In fact, there's billions of gallons of water that go out the Golden Gate. You can literally stand there. My brother lives in San Francisco. You can go out there and just watch billions and billions and billions of gallons just go into the ocean. So, I mean, in terms of a desalination plant, perhaps, but more importantly, we need to build the water storage that we voted on nearly a decade ago. And that money was already allocated. You can look that up. It's 100% true. No false facts here, because the truth is our government, the Democratic supermajority, has let us down. They do not have our priorities in mind. They have their priorities in mind. They are looking to make money. That's all they're there for. Most of these people are some of the least accomplished people that you'll ever meet, and they are determining our fate.
I'm going to throw this out, and then we'll give you 2.5 minutes to do your closing with it also. There seems to be, with Sacramento, with all the things that they're passing, forcing things on the local communities, our First Amendment rights seem to be getting chipped away. We're seeing it at the city level and so on, where they won't let us play our videos and little things like that. So if you can address that along with your closing remarks, you each get 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, we've seen a great erosion of our rights here in this state. And someone who's a constitutionalist and a constitutional scholar, I'm very big on the First Amendment, because without the First Amendment, we end up with what we have now, is basically a totalitarian government, in so many words, who have controlled the legislature, who have spent us into oblivion, who have doubled our state budget from 2003 to 2023. It literally doubled it. And the only time it's gone down was during COVID, which was a fake suppression, and also when Arnold Schwarzenegger was the last Republican governor. So what I think we need is just people who are honest people who are willing to self-finance their campaigns, people who believe in their ideals more than they believe in making money. Because to be quite honest with you, I've made my money. I actually will take a 40% pay cut by going to Sacramento, and I'm okay with that, because what I want for this state is for my children to be able to raise their children, and I can be close to my grandkids. Now, my kids are 11 and 7. I got a long way to go with that, but at the end of the day, that's what we all want. And a lot of what's going to happen here in Riverside County, where I grew up in the San Gabriel Valley, is there's going to be a lot of talent extraction going on, because we aren't investing in our UC system. We aren't investing in our infrastructure, and we are fueling things like the homeless industrial complex. So we need to really recalibrate the government to where we're in control. And that means you as well. That means First Amendment, Second Amendment, they all mean the same. So for example, in the state assembly, or in the state Senate rather, they are passing a bill that will make it so you have to get a certification to have a gun, which I'm not really a gun guy, but that's the Second Amendment. So how about we apply that same logic that the Democrat supermajority is trying to apply to the Second Amendment to the First Amendment? Would you be okay with that? Would you all be okay with getting certified for your free speech? Or how about ladies in here? What about the 19th Amendment? You need to get certified to vote. That's what they're doing in the California legislature right now, and we need to stop it. We need to be loud. We need to be aggressive. My wife says, sometimes you're a little too aggressive on the campaign stuff. It's because I believe that we need to be aggressive and not just stand by and watch our state go by the wayside. So 100%, First Amendment, Second Amendment, all those amendments are in there for a reason. And if the country doesn't like that, then there's a process by which to change that. So none of those things have happened yet, so we need to enforce that federal law right here, right now.
Yes, thank you, Nikki. Yes, I agree with a lot of what Mr. Romo here was saying, and I think it has gotten out of hand. Seeing that the Riverside City Council now wants to limit public speech is just ridiculous to me. That's supposed to be the place you go to speak to, to voice your opinion about what's going on in your community, and they're not even giving that to the people. Even like the laws keep getting passed. There's even one to cap the county supervisor's salaries that got passed by a majority, and that's up in a docket just sitting there. So we have to hold them accountable for not even passing laws that we voted for that would, help us. It would help balance our budget. And also I want to put up to a public vote, because what's happening is these planning commissions, these city councils, they're not listening to y'all either way. When you come in there and you say, hey, I don't want this development over there, I don't want this, they don't listen to you, and they do it anyway, and then it gets passed. So I want to see how we can actually put that up to a vote during to make sure that the majority of the community wants something. I don't know how we're going to do that, if it's going to be like a general election thing, or you guys come to the council meetings and or the planning commission meetings, and you have to have a majority of the citizens saying, yes, we want this. Or maybe we could have people vote digitally on these things, and you put your driver's license number in there, and just to make it, more cost effective and quicker. But we have to figure something out with that. And so that's a real big reason I ran, because out here in the Inland Empire, we have a city manager form of government. So you have no say. Your mayor, even if he cares, say you have a really good mayor, and I happen to work for the Moreno Valley Mayor and Council Office. I know that guy's a good guy, but if he wants to do something, his hands are tied. The city manager is going to come in and say, you can't do that. And that's in Riverside too. So that's unacceptable. And I want to see if we can have, like I said, have a law where after a city gets 100,000 people, automatically y'all can vote on if you want to change your form of government. And it doesn't even have to be a strong mayor city. There's other forms of government. And with that said, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, so this is a short it's a short term for me, right? So you could take a chance on me, someone different for once, and see if there's going to be any real change. And then after, my term is up, it's short, you can go back to voting in, your normal Republican or Democrat, so that's it.
All right. I'm going to start with the First Amendment question. You have a right to say whatever you want, and I will defend your right to say that to my last breath. And if any of us up here aren't willing to do that, then we shouldn't be out here running for this seat in the first place. Secondly, I will tell you that, I'm out here just because I'm an everyday Californian, and some of the problems that we need solved have not been being solved. This isn't going to be, my life would be far easier to not do this. It's not going to change what I get paid. It would be far simpler to not do it, but it's too important. And I think one of the other things that we need to be careful about, yes, we can point fingers in one direction or the other all day long. I spent part of my life in a Republican supermajority controlled state, a lot of the same problems. What we need to do is be willing to have some conversations. We need to be willing to give and take on all kinds of issues, and we need to not care where the ideas come from. We just need to make sure they are good ideas. We need to make sure that we can afford to live our daily lives. We need to make sure we're not having culture war conversations instead of talking about bettering educational outcomes. We need to make sure that we're actually diversifying economic development in this community and this area in a way that's going to benefit our kids and our grandkids, that's going to allow us to live here, that's going to allow us the lives that we want instead of just the survival that a lot of us have at the moment. Ultimately, yes, maybe our supermajority has failed on some fronts, right? And we need to have some new conversations about that. These gentlemen, I like going to forums that they're at because I like to listen to their ideas. And everywhere I go, I learn something new from every conversation I have with somebody. And I'm going to take that with me, and I'm going to continue to have those conversations. And I want you to remember that one of the things that is going to make a successful legislator is the ability to build coalitions, which is something that Mr. Staley struggled with. If you look at my coalitions that I have pulled together, we're talking about everyday Californians. When you talk about labor, the building trades, education, some of your local elected officials, I don't have a slew of the supermajority. I don't have 70 legislators who are backing me because that's not who I am. I am my own person. Sometimes that goes over well with people. Sometimes it doesn't sit well. But in the end, there's proof that I can run a successful campaign here. I can build a coalition on this front. And so in the legislature, I can do that same thing for you. And you can actually get a return on investment across this term and hopefully the next and beyond. Thank you.
This is a lot of work running for office. I have a lot of respect for anybody that does that. Guys, you get to keep the black pens in front of you. They're from Mission Grove Neighborhood Alliance, special antibacterial coating, special tip for your phone so you don't smudge it, and a light to find your way in Sacramento when you get there.
Very nice.
Can't do much better than that. So we want to thank you guys for coming. Folks have any questions for them? Follow up, remember our next meetings. No, you can come up and talk to them.
I know that. And so I really appreciate you guys inviting us, giving us the opportunity to speak and exercise our First Amendment right. But also, we all have regular jobs. And so I really appreciate them coming out here and really just doing what we're supposed to do, right? Be civically engaged.
We'll be posting this